Northern Israeli residents panicked after the Lebanon ceasefire, accusing leadership of betrayal and broken trust. Protesters claimed the deal was signed in the USA, but paid for in blood on the ground. Hours after the truce, reports alleged Israeli strikes continued on villages inside southern Lebanon. Residents said they had spent months in shelters, questioning whether northern Israel was still safe. The IDF was also accused in some reports of misidentifying threats during the ceasefire period. Northern Israel reacted with anger after Donald Trump announced a 10-day ceasefire with Lebanon. Opposition lawmakers accused Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of capitulating to Washington under external pressure, according to reports. Ministers in Netanyahu's cabinet reportedly learned of the ceasefire only through Trump's public announcement. David Azoulay said, and I quote, "The fact that it is the President of the United States who is the one announcing a ceasefire only highlights how disconnected the Prime Minister of Israel is from the people, and from the reality of the residents of the North. Your basic duty as Prime Minister of Israel is to provide security to the citizens of the state. In practice, you fail at this time after time." Unquote. Northern Israeli leaders described the agreement as bloody, saying it came at a heavy human cost. Moshe Davidovich said, and I quote, "A ceasefire that does not include lethal enforcement against Hezbollah for every violation and a buffer zone free of terror up to the Litani River is not a political achievement, it is a sentence to wait for the next massacre. The residents of the North are not statistics in an international public relations show. Agreements are signed in Washington but paid in blood, in destroyed homes and in dismantled communities here." Unquote. Opposition leader Yair Lapid said government promises had collapsed against harsh realities on the ground. Yair Lapid said, and I quote, "This is not the first time the promises of this government have come crashing down on the ground of reality. The fighting in Lebanon can finish only in one way, removing the threat to the northern communities permanently. This will no longer happen in this government. We will do it in the next government." Unquote. Local official Benny Ben-Muvhar warned residents that conditions remained unsafe for returning home. Benny Ben-Muvhar said, and I quote, "We've been underground in shelters for 2 months, so the IDF could do what it had to do. Enough of these games." Unquote. Benny also rejected claims that an IDF deployment in Lebanon would guarantee stability or calm. The ceasefire followed sustained Hezbollah rocket fire that began on March 2nd, escalating border tensions. The IDF said cross-border violence had killed 12 soldiers and 2 civilians during the fighting period. The 10-day truce formally began at midnight local time on April 17th, raising cautious hopes for a temporary pause in cross-border hostilities after months of intense fighting. Just a few hours later, the Lebanese army accused Israel of violating the ceasefire agreement, reporting that the Israeli military had carried out new strikes in the south. The Lebanese army said that the Israel Defense Forces, or IDF, bombed several villages in the southern region, according to a report in the Times of Israel. The Lebanese military did not specify the exact scale of damage but stressed that the situation on the ground remains tense and unstable. Lebanon's forces also urged civilians in the south not to return to their homes immediately, warning that the front line could quickly flare up again despite the declared truce. The advisory reflected broader concerns that the fighting could resume at any moment, even under the formal ceasefire framework announced by Washington. Around the same time, the IDF activated air raid sirens in parts of northern Israel, creating the impression that an incoming attack from Lebanon was underway. However, the Israeli military later clarified that the sirens had been triggered by a false detection system reading, not by an actual rocket launch. Warning sirens were heard in the northern Israeli community of Netuah, which lies close to the Lebanese border and has been repeatedly targeted during the conflict. Earlier, President Trump had announced the Israel-Lebanon ceasefire with considerable fanfare on April 16th, portraying it as a major diplomatic breakthrough in the wider regional war.
I think they will. I think it's going to be, actually it's very exciting because it's 48 years. We're going to be meeting with Bibi Netanyahu, as you know, and the president of Lebanon. And I had a great talk with both of them today. They're going to be having a ceasefire, and that'll include Hezbollah. And I think it could be number 10 for me. Very exciting. With Lebanon, it's very exciting. I think we're going to have a deal where we're going to have a meeting, first time in 44 years, and Lebanon will be meeting with Israel, and they're probably going to do it at the White House.
When do you think, President, when do you think they would?
Over the next week or two.
Or the next Hezbollah
I think we will have an agreement between Lebanon, and they're going to take care of Hezbollah. But they're going to be working on Hezbollah right now. But we'll have an agreement between Israel, very importantly, and Lebanon. They're all agreeing. It's a very nice little package for about a week. And we're not going to have lots of bombs dropping. And we're going to see if we can make peace between Lebanon and Israel.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.